Hi guys, and welcome back to my cave. In a previous video, very short video, I refurbished the starter motor for the KZ. I've actually now got it back on the bike and I'm going to see how well it performs under load, under a normal load of turning the engine over. I'm going to start the video from where I've taken the engine cover off and things are back in place as they should be. I think all KZ 750 twin owners will know that the starter motor clutch assembly is a major failing point. In anticipation of a certain fault, I've already bought a refurb kit. We'll see in the video how well we get that on. So the objectives from this video are to see how well the starter motor works under load. I don't see why there should be a problem. And also that the starter motor and the starter motor clutch assembly are good enough to be able to start the bike when it's on the bench, when it's on the stand, without having to take it off the stand to kickstart it. Just makes things easier when you're working on the bike, of course. So let's jump into the video, see how we get on, and well, I'll see you on the other side of the video. So let's turn the engine over now. Well, as you can hear, it's spinning. It's not fully engaging where it needs to sort of grab the crankshaft. So let's take everything off and see what we can find. So we'll take this off, and remembering that it's a left-hand thread. We then need to get in there with a puller. So I've already greased up the threads on the puller. Easy peasy. So we'll then just put that to stop any further oil leaking out. Well, then it's across to the bench, and we'll see what we can sort out with the repair kit. I'll also take a little bit of time and clean up the remains of these old gaskets and gasket sealant. So back at the bench, straight away there's some obvious carnage. I guess some monkey has been in before. Why this would be damaged in this way, I don't know. A guess, purely a guess. Someone has tried to chisel this off in some way, prise it off, thinking that it rotates off. Again, I don't know, that's purely a guess, but there's certainly some damage there. Let's take things apart and have a look. Some unusual wear marks there. I don't think should be there, but I think that's been caused by the fact that this is not seating correctly. You can see that in other parts it seats within those jaws or fingers, and on this part it's not been seated, so it's been pushing it outwards. I think that's part of the problem. Okay. Okay, well. Okay, yeah. What was the cause of damage? Don't know. I have quickly jumped on the internet to see if I can find one. I can't find a replacement. I was hoping there was maybe just this, let's call it a shield, whatever, but it's all part of one unit. Unfortunately, the unit, for me to get a new one, I'd have to import it from the US, and it would be something around £200. What's that, about $250 US? By the time the purchase price, import tax and shipping. So I'm going to have to see if I can do something with this. Not quite sure what, but we'll try and work out a solution. So the solution was, and whether or not it'll work, I can't really tell, get it back on the bike, was actually dress down the edges of this broken part. You can see there's a kind of a slight lip there that this edge intends to be a slight interference fit with. So I've dressed that down and cleaned it up with a file. I have checked without fully assembling it, and it now does sit within those fingers in all the locations, and there is a location dowel, so it can only go in one position. So let's move on to the next step, and I suppose fingers crossed that when we get it all assembled it's going to work properly. So I did mention there is a locating pin, a locating dowel there. Let's put that back in for now so it doesn't get forgotten about. Then let's pop this back on again. I'm guessing it's some form of thrust. So move that to one side now. Just wanted to do that so I didn't forget about it during the process. So I've got a Tomax starter clutch repair kit. Used Tomax brand a lot in the past for various things, seals and bearings, and I always found them to be very good. So again, there's no reason not to try it with this. One of the first things I did notice, if that's the old spring, there's a new one, and you can see the new spring is much longer and the coils are open. Whether that's because this spring and the other two that make up the set of three have now become spring bound, coil bound in some way, I don't know, but I guess we're going to find out. So the tricky bit, the fiddly bit, is then getting them back in a position. We'll see how well we got on with that one. Yeah, it's quite difficult to film and see what's going on, but spring sits inside the piece there, which then in turn sits in a hole there. As you can probably work out, that is then going to sit in that hole and be able to move up and down. So you can see what is supposed to happen there. That moves, the spring is holding things in place, and there's got some movement there. What happens, or what should happen, obviously when we've got all three in as well, is that when this revolves, when this rotates at speed as the engine's cranking over, all three of the rollers then move and act against the crankshaft. Start to grip the crankshaft, or that's the intention, therefore obviously turning the crankshaft and turning the engine over. When you take your thumb or whatever away from the starter motor button, the starter motor should stop, and those then go back into that position. So hopefully everything will work. I'm still a little bit dubious about the Billy Bodger repair, but I've got no alternative at the moment. So let's get the other two in, get it back on the bike, and then find out how it's going to work. So all three are now back in place. We then obviously need fit to there. So let's try that. This is where it can start to be fun, because things start to fall out when you're working on them. But let's see what we can do. This can be the really tricky part. You'll have to excuse some hands getting in the way of the film. There's not really a lot I can do about that. It's quite a tricky job without trying to sort of film it correctly as well. Let's see what we can do. Get it. It does look as though that is clearing it where we dress the dress that surface up. It is then clearing and sitting within that recess. Let's see if we can bolt things back together. I have put thread lock on the threads before inserting them in there. We can see that the rollers are all moving, and it does feel more positive. So possibly these springs have become coil bound, but again, we keep repeating it, but we need to get it back on the bike to see what happens. Put this back in so it doesn't get forgotten about. So the final part of the process is to get the assembly back on the bike. So let's just offer it up carefully and get that home. Good. Replace the bolt, remembering it's anti-clockwise to tighten. Clutch in, pray and try. Okay, so let me start by clarifying something. I mentioned of how it grabs the crankshaft. I think I used that phraseology a couple of times. What I was really talking about there is how the assembly, which part of which is located to the crank, how the rest of the assembly, in particular the rollers, actually grab onto that part and cause the engine to turn over. So certainly some signs of carnage in the past at some point. Don't know why, and it's kind of slightly irrelevant because we're going to fix everything, and that was the purpose of taking things apart. So we've got the starter motor to be able to turn the bike over and start the bike. I'm not happy. I'm not happy with the fact I had to do a bodge, but I suppose it serves a purpose. The other side of that coin is this is only intended as a temporary fix. I won't be riding the bike till sort of next year. So it'll give me a chance to track down the parts and hopefully track down the parts and be able to fix it in a way I'd really prefer to. If all else fails, I think there are a couple of engineering solutions that could be applied. Unfortunately, I haven't got a lathe and I'll have to touch base with a buddy, but I've got some ideas if I actually can't track down the part that I need. Not a great deal else to say. I mean, hopefully the video was self-explanatory. If you did like the video, if you could find the time just to subscribe, that would be a good thing. Also at the end of the video there's a link that will take you to the playlist of videos we've made this far regarding refurbishing the KZ. So for me, all that's really left to say is safe miles to everybody, and well, bye for now.